Now, coming to advanced control strategies, in this lecture I will be giving a detailed explanation of the cascade control, which is the first form of the advanced control strategy. As you know, we have discussed about the feedback control system. Let me take an example of an exothermic chemical reaction. So first, when you go through the feedback control system, the disadvantages whatever I will be discuss here, from that how can we overcome that through the advanced control strategies. And that is the ultimate aim of this lecture. Now in the feedback control system, let the inlet feed temperature be 40 degrees centigrade, and as it is a chemical reaction of exothermic, so the temperature will be increased and we need to control the temperature to get the desired value. Then only you will get the desired products. So my controlled variable is the temperature of the reactor. So once it enters the reactor, it is cooled using a cooling water by supplying from the cooling water, where it enters at 35 degrees and the heat is taken over by this cooling water and increased to 45 degrees, and again it is cooled using a cooling water. That is a cooling tower example. Now here, if there is any disturbance from 40 to 45 degrees centigrade, so once it enters into the reactor, then only corrective action can be taken place. This is one of the disadvantage of feedback control system. That is, the corrective action can take place after entering reactor. That means until it enters the reactor and when there is a difference between the set point and the actual temperature, till that the feedback control system won't take any action. So this is one of the disadvantage. So now, as you know, if there is any disturbance in this cooling water, see, every time it won't be ideal like to get 35 degrees as an input, because if there is any deviation in this cooling tower, then it will ultimately affect my temperature here. If it is affecting my temperature, this 35, let it become a 30 degrees centigrade. Now there is a decrease in temperature, which means when there is a decrease in temperature, it will further decrease the temperature of the reactor. Therefore we will get the undesired product. So to avoid this undesirable value, we need to get the control over the jacket. Otherwise, with this feedback control system, the corrective action can only take place once it enters the reactor. For this purpose, we need to add a secondary loop where we need to measure this jacket temperature. That's what the jacket temperature is, the inlet temperature of this cooling water. So until unless we know this temperature tracking, then further we can change the manipulated variable accordingly. So to understand this cascade control, let me take this chemical reactor again with inlet flow rate m dot and the initial temperature Ti. So now here I will measure the jacket temperature. So let it be transmitter TT2 temperature transmitter, where it is controlled by controller, and this is the primary loop, that is the temperature transmitter 1 of this reactor and the temperature controller of this reactor temperature. So this is the set point. Now here in this cascade loop, the set point for this secondary loop, that is the temperature what we are measuring from the jacket, will be the TC1, the controller error will be the set point for this, and this will be given to the final control element as a feedback. This is a cooling tower. Now from this you can understand, if suppose my inlet temperature is having any disturbance from 35 degrees to 30 degrees, then automatically this temperature gets detected in the jacket and it is further given to the controller where it will be adjusting the final control value. So with the cascade control system, we can avoid the sluggish response of a control valve to the disturbance caused by the manipulated variable. That is, in cascade control, the sluggish response of controlled variable, that is the temperature of the reactor, where the sluggish response generated the control variable caused by a manipulated variable. So this will be avoided using a cascade control. So in this cascade control, to avoid this, we are again adding a one more feedback loop, that is a secondary loop. We call this as secondary loop or a slave loop. And the first feedback loop, that is the main loop, is called primary loop. So that is, in cascade control, we have multiple feedbacks, first point, and the second point is single manipulated variable, that is only one manipulated variable here. So to avoid the sluggish response of this controlled variable which is caused by the manipulated variable, we are using the cascade control, which is very clear from this example. Now to draw this block diagram for this cascade control system, first thing, the set point of this temperature, TSP. I have discussed how to draw for feedback control system, that it will look like this for feedback control system, the block diagram, and I have given a separate lecture how to draw the block diagram from the diagram. Now coming to this, first I will start with the T set point, where a comparator is used because it is having a temperature transmitter and it is given to the second controller. That means I need to use a comparator when both the inputs are there, and the output will be to the temperature controller, that will be GC1, and this will be the output to the temperature controller 2. But before that, it has two inputs, that is the temperature transmitter and the set point error. It will be again a comparator and the second controller GC2 of the secondary loop, which is going to the final control element, let it be GV, transfer function, and this transfer function will be entering the process of the jacket later to the process. So from this GP2, that is the jacket process, after that it will be the secondary load disturbance GD to D2, like the 35 to 30 degrees at disturbance variable. Then again comes kettle transfer function, and again a comparator with the disturbance GD1 D1. After the process which is going, that is final temperature, that is TF. Now from here, from the kettle, we are taking a temperature transmission for measuring, that will be GM1, and again for this second loop, where we are taking the temperature transmitter 2 to the temperature controller. from the jacket. So it will be like this, not here, from the jacket. So this is how a control, cascade control, behaves. So once there is any disturbance in the secondary loop, it will be detected here and automatically it will be adjusted. So the corrective action here will be taken before it enters into the reactor. So this is called primary loop. This is secondary loop. Now if I draw the outlet temperature regarding the time in minutes, if I use a feedback controller, suppose if there is any disturbance from 35 to 30 degrees temperature, then once it enters into the reactor, then only action will be taken. So because of that, there will be some sluggish response. See, ultimately it will be corrected, but we are using so many transfer functions, which means the order of reaction will be increasing, which means there is a delay in the reaction. So to get the corrective action in the feedback control system, there will be some delay. With this delay, there might be an upset in the process. So to avoid this time delay only, we are using the cascade control. That means it will, in the initial point itself, it will control the system. Now coming to this cascade control, now if there is any disturbance at the initial point itself, temperature will be detected and accordingly it will be manipulated. So for the cascade control, the graph looks like this. Now you can see the sluggish response is reduced far away. So here, as I've discussed, there are two important features in a cascade control. Now the first one is the output signal of the master controller serves as set point for the secondary controller. That means this error will act as a set point for the controller. Output signal of primary controller serves as set point for secondary controller. And here we have two feedback control loops nested with a secondary loop inside a primary loop. Now I have taken only one disturbance variable, so this acts as secondary variable. Like that, if you find the different disturbances, you can make a multiple feedbacks in the cascade control. And here you need to note there will be a single manipulated variable. More the number of feedbacks, the previous control error will act as a set point for the next control loop. Like here I have discussed, the primary loop error acts as a set point for the secondary loop. So here we have two controlled variables, that is the temperature of jacket and temperature of reactor. Here we have one controlled variable, that is temperature of reactor. Here we have one manipulated variable, and in this case also we have one manipulated variable. So these are the basic differences and the advantages if you are using a cascade control system. Now you need to observe one more thing here. In cascade control system, to function properly, the innermost loop should respond faster than the primary loop. Now coming to design considerations of a cascade control. So this is the picture that I have taken from the previous page. Let me take a disturbance in the D2. Now I need to find the disturbance with respect to d to the set final temperature, that is Tf by d2 I need to find. So with this example I'll be showing how you need to design a cascade control and what are the advantages of cascade control from a feedback control. With this example I will be discussing. So in my previous lectures I have discussed how to get the deviation variables from this block diagram. So the same application I will be using it here. The first we need to go in a backward manner, that is Tf is equal to, so here it will be 0, the deviation variable of d1, because there is no disturbance, and the set point I'm taking 0. Now Tf is equal to, as this is 0 then this whole process is 0. Now it will be Tf is equal to Gp1, and now for this the comparator Gd2 and G2, Gd2 into D2. Simple it is. This is a transfer function and let it be y and it is x. Then output is by input is equal to the transfer function. So this simple application only I am using it here. Now Gd1 into D2 plus, now you need to multiply this as you are going backwards. So Gp2, then the control variable transfer function and the secondary control loop controller into, now comparator will be plus and minus. First I will take this plus condition, Gc1, then Tsp is 0 minus Gm1 T1. So here it will be Gm2 and Gm1. This I missed in this block diagram. So now here minus that Gm2, and this comes to this point. Let I take is T. Now from this you can see Tf is equal to Gp1 into T. T is equal to 1 by Gp1 into Tf. So here it will be Gm1, it will be Gm2 into this T, which is Tf by Gp1. So this is how you need to derive the deviation variables using the block diagram. Now if you reduce this equation, Gp1 Gd2 D2 plus Gp1 and the secondary process Gp2 Gv Gc2 into Gc1, it will be minus Gm1 T1 minus Gm Tf by Gp1. From this again if you rearrange, minus Gp1 Gp2 Gv Gc1 Gc2 Gm1 into T1 minus Gp1 and Gp1 gets cancelled, Gp2 Gv Gc2 into Gm2. So from here you can find Tf by D1 D2 relation, that will be Gp1 Gd2 divided by, this will be coming in the denominator, that is 1 plus Gp1 Gp2 Gv Gc1 Gc2 to Gm1 plus Gp2 Gv Gc2 Gm2. So this is how you will correlate a relation between a T final temperature with respect to the disturbance occurred in the jacket. Now coming to this example, here Gd1 and Gd2 are the both disturbance variables in the cascade loop, and this is the G process 1, that is the reactor transfer function, and this is the kettle transfer function. and GV is the final control element transfer function. GM1 and GM2 are the measuring element transfer function of both primary and secondary loop, and the controller of the primary and secondary loop are given as a P controller, and let the secondary control gain be Kc2 is 4. Now from the given data we need to find the stability limit and calculate the offset for this unit step change. Now let me take one important data from this. I will take only the secondary loop here. So for a feedback control system, it again looks one feedback control system. For this, the deviation variable T2, and this is a set point for this. T2 by TSP2 is equal to 4 into 5 by S plus 1, that is Kc2 into GV into GP2, that is 1, divided by 1 plus Kc2 into GV into GP2 into GM2, that is 0.2. So from this, if you reduce this equation, it will be 20 by S plus 1 S plus 5, which will be further equation reduced to 4 into 0.2 S plus 1. Now here the time constant is 0.2 minutes. Suppose if I take a feedback control system, then for feedback control system, my T2 by TSP2 will be GV, because in my feedback control loop there won't be any secondary loop, that is GM2 is 0 and GC2 will be 1. So which means my T2 by TSP2 will be GV, that is 5 by S plus 1. Now here the time constant is 1. That means you can clearly understand that in cascade control there is an increase in speed of response, because it takes 0.2 minutes here the time constant, and here it is 1 minute. Now there is a reduction in the time constant, which means there is an increase in speed of response. Now coming to our example, we need to find the stability limit. For finding the stability limit, from the previous derivation, you can take a characteristic equation for this. That will be 1 plus GP1, GP2, GV, GC1, GC2, GM1 plus GP2, GV, GC2, GM2. From this, if you apply these values, 1 plus GP1 will be 4 by 4s plus 1, 2s plus 1, and GP2 is 1 into GV, 5 by S plus 1, and GC1 will be KC1, and GC2 is KC2, that is 4 into GM1 will be 0.05 plus the transfer function P2 is 1 into by 5s plus 1, and the controller transfer function GC2 will be 4 and into 0.2 is equal to 0. This is how a characteristic equation is represented here. Now if you further reduce it, it will become S plus 1, 4s plus 1, 2s plus 1 plus 4 into 4s plus 1, 2s plus 1 plus 4 Kc1 is equal to 0. Now I am reducing this again. I am taking 4s plus 1, 2s plus 1 common from this. So this s plus 1 plus 4 will be s plus 5 plus 4 kc1 is equal to 0. So here further reducing it, that will be 8s square plus 6s plus 1 plus 4 kc1 is equal to 0, which means 8s cube plus 46s square plus 31s plus 5 plus 4 kc1 is equal to 0. You just simplify this equation, you will be getting this final one. Now applying the Routh's criterion here, that is s cube s square s1, here 8 first value and 46, now 31, 5 plus 4 k c1 0 0. Now to find this value you need to multiply these two, 31 into 46 minus this product minus 8 into 5 plus 4 kc1 divided by 46, and here it similarly if you do the same thing it will be 0 here, and this point you need to calculate again, you need to multiply these two and these two, that is this into this minus this into this will be 0 divided by this value. So ultimately this point will be 5 plus 4 into kc. I am simplifying it this one. Now these are positive and positive, so these all should be greater than 0. Now considering this, 31 minus 46, 31 into 46 minus 8 into 5 plus 4 kc1 by 46 is greater than 0. From this 5 plus 4 kc1 should be less than 178.25 if you reduce this further equation. So from here kc1 will be less than 43.3. For cascade control, the kc is less than 43.3. That is the ultimate value of the gain is 43.3. Now coming to feedback control. For feedback control, there won't be any secondary loop, which means GM2 is equal to 0 and GC2 equal to 1. Now applying these two values in the characteristic equation, it will be 1 plus GC1 GV jacket transfer function GK and GM is equal to 0. Now from this equation apply the values of the transfer functions. GC1 will be the KC1 and the control transfer function 5 by s plus 1 into 1 into, for the kettle transfer function it is 4 by 4s plus 1 into 2s plus 1 into 0.05. GM1 is equal to 0. Now simplifying this equation, it will be s plus 1 and 4s plus 1 into 2s plus 1 plus 5 for the 20 into 0.05, which will be 1. It will be kc1 is equal to 0. Now further reducing it, s plus 1 4 to the 8s square plus 6s plus 1 plus kc1 is equal to 0. 8s cube plus 6s square plus s plus 8s square plus 6s plus 1 plus kc1 is equal to 0. Now from this s square just add it. It will be 8s cube plus 14s square plus 7s plus 1 plus kc, which is equal to 0. Now applying the Routh's criterion here to find the range of the kc. The first term 8 and the second term will come here 14, third term and the fourth term here. Now just do the multiplication. 7 into 14 minus 8 into 1 plus kc divided by 14. Here it will be 0 and this value will be the multiplication of this factor. Anyway, it will be 0 divided by this term, which means 1 plus kc here. Now these two values should be greater than 0 for the Raoult's criterion to be applicable. So 7 into 14 minus 8 into 1 plus kc will be greater than 0, which means 8 into 1 plus kc is less than 7 into 14. Simplifying this equation, you will find the value of this kc one will be less than 11.25, less than or equal to, because it should be a positive value. This value should be positives. So here the ultimate gain will be 11.25 in a feedback controller, and for cascade control it is 43.3, which means it is approximately 4 times greater than feedback control. So more the control gain, less will be the offset, and the response will be faster. Now we completed the first point, that is stability limits. Now coming to the second, now that is to find the offset when there is a unit step in the secondary disturbance, that is d2 of s will be 1 by s. Now I have derived the transfer function, that tf by d2, the deviation variable, is equal to gp1 gd2 by 1 plus gp1 gp2 gv gc2 gc1 gm1 plus gp2 gv gc2 and gm2. This one I have derived. Now here to find the offset, which means offset is equal to the set point final value minus the actual final value that we arrived. Here there is only the disturbance for d2, which means the set point is constant, that is it will be 0. It is minus tf of infinity will be the offset. Now to find the final value of this tf infinity, we will be using the final value theorem. That will be tf of infinity is equal to, as these transfer functions are in terms of s, so limit t tends to infinity. So here it is in terms of s, so I will be writing limit s tends to 0 s into d2 into this whole transfer function will be here. That means limit s tends to 0, this d2 will be 1 by s, s will get cancelled. So applying this limit s tends to 0 for this whole block, that will be, I will be applying the transfer function values which are given in the question. 4 by 4s plus 1 into 1 divided by lengthy equation gp plus 1 plus 1 into 4 into 5 by s plus 1 into 0.2 plus kc1 into 4 into 5 by s plus 1 into 4 into 0.05 divided by 4s plus 1 into 2s plus 1. Just substitute the value of s as 0, that means s0, which will become 4 in the numerator, by 1 plus s tends to 0 4 5 is 20, 20 into 0.2 will be 4 plus, now again this will be 1, this will be 1, so this is also 1, 4 5 is 20, 20 into 4, 80, 80 into 0.05, which will be 4, that is 4 into Kc1. So finally if I write, TF of infinity will be 4 by 5 plus 4 Kc1. My offset is equal to minus 4 by 5 plus 4 Kc1 for cascade control. Similarly, if you try for a feedback control, that means just to eliminate the secondary loop, for this the offset is minus 4 by 1 plus Kc1. Now if you compare this both equations, for any value of Kc1, the offset of cascade control will be less than that of a feedback control. So from this example, I think it is clear for you that the advantage of using a cascade control, which will improve the response of the system and eliminate any offset prior to entering the reactor. Now the commonly used cascade control in maximum almost all the systems is the valve positioner. That is, a control has a many non-ideal deviations like hysteresis or dead zones. So to avoid this, there is an internal loop in the valve positioner that whatever hysteresis or dead zones are created will be reduced and it will attain a desired stem position. So it is beneficial for a valve positioner cascade control. Now I'll give you a question for you, and you solve this control loop, and I will be discussing about this in my next video at the end. So just take the question. So considering the distillation bottom column like stripping section where it has a reboiler arrangement here used to heat the bottom products and recycle a few amount of liquid back to the distillation column. Now here I am just drawing a feedback control loop for this system, that the inlet will be coming from a steam header. It's a steam header, and this control valve where it takes the temperature of this distillation column through a temperature transmitter and a temperature controller with a set point used to control the control valve. Now in this distillation column type, as you know, a steam header which will be giving steam to various different units, and sometimes if there is any pressure changes in the steam header, then what will happen? This pressure change will fluctuate the flow of the steam into the reboiler. So when there is a reduction in flow or increase in flow, it will disturb the distillation column temperature. Now to avoid this, design a cascade control loop. So thanks for watching my video. Just find the design of the cascade control loop, and I will be discussing in my next video at the end. Stay tuned. If you like my video, subscribe to my channel to get more updates from my channel.